Hello people, welcome back to part 2 of our fundamental rights extended discussion on Constitution Insider. Hopefully you guys have seen part 1 or heard part 1, so where we discussed some more about the various fundamental rights. I would like to continue where we last left off, which was about the duty of a person to approach the Supreme Court, or the right of a person to approach the Supreme Court in order to have his own rights be given to him. So I explained of how it need not be the person who is being deprived of the fundamental rights to approach court. Even a third person who has witnessed such a thing can also approach the court to make sure that they guarantee the fundamental rights to the aggrieved party. Okay, so this can be done through something known as the public interest litigation. So this is one of the very legal procedures which are undertaken to make sure that fundamental rights are guaranteed to every citizen of a country, in this case India in particular. Okay, so the fundamental rights are there for our own protection, and it also of human rights, also prevention of violations of human rights. Okay, so of course protection happens, but violation happens more often now. So to make sure such thing doesn't happen, these rights are there. Okay, if this was not there, then you would see human trafficking be rampant. There will be religious wars with religion claiming suzerainty or supremacy over one religion and all that, which is very much not the core essence of democracy. In democracy, we feel that all people are equal and all religions are equal, right? So it also has a duty of protecting the people, so which is very much the essence of democracy, and why democracy is there. It is to protect the interests of the citizen. I would like to talk one very important fact is that the Constitution does guarantee us our fundamental rights, but in our Indian Constitution there are provisions by which it can be suppressed, but it is not suppressed just for the sake of it, but it being suppressed for the case of national security. So that is done when a state of national emergency is declared. So Article 19 confers various rights such as freedoms of speech, assembly and movement. These rights, if the emergency is proclaimed, are therefore suspended, and we just say that it is suspended as long as the emergency is in effect, and the emergency cannot be in effect forever. So it is just that for the sake of the nation, for the sake of national security, these rights have to be suspended, because if right to freedom of movement is given, then obviously these attackers or perpetrators will be moving around freely and no one can question them. Right of freedom of speech, if you have an anti-national guy who is coming up and talking nonsense against the country, and that is very much demoralizing when during a state of emergency and when national security isn't concerned. Once again, the president can declare a state of emergency. Again, it is a president who is the supreme authority who does that, but he does act on the advice given by parliament, right? But this cannot be there forever, so I would like to stress on that. So it is just a safety measure. Our forefathers, the people who wrote the Constitution, believed that this is just a safe measure. Something might happen and we might be in such a situation where we need this, so they included it. Okay, it's not that they want our rights to be curtailed. It is just a hindsight, or should I say a foresight actually, that in an event that something does happen, it is paramount that the nation is protected. Okay, so only if there's a nation can we proclaim ourselves to be the citizens of such a nation, right? So in the interest of national securities, do these rights be suspended? Okay, so we have talked about all these rights in the previous uh, should I say podcast, which was part 3. Under that we talked about whichever article corresponds to whichever rights. So let us analyze how it is. Okay, so we have the fundamental rights which are guaranteed to the citizens, but these rights have been revised for many reasons. So people are asking that there should be an additional fundamental right known as right to work, that every person has a right to get a job, despite whatever his qualification is. So also they're asking for right to economic assistance in the case of unemployment, old age, and similar rights to be enshrined as constitutional guarantees to address issues of poverty and economic insecurities. But these provisions are there, and they are there in the directive principles of state policy. But these people, some political groups, want these to be fundamental rights. There will be some obstacles, not that everyone can be given the work, depends on the demand of the work. You can't just have 10 computer engineers when the need is only one, so a lot of thinking is to be done through that. But the directive principle of state policy says that as much as possible work should be provided to the people. The more the people the work, the more the country can be productive, right? So one more thing is that the right to freedom and personal liberty has a lot of limiting clauses, which is seen one of them where if an emergency is declared, then these rights are suspended. There are some who feel that that is too much excessive power in the hands of the parliament, and if one party does control the whole of the parliament, then they can easily enforce such a state of emergency, and the president will be forced to act on it. So people find it to be excessive, and there are some acts where the provisions are very much deemed as countering the fundamental rights. One is the Maintenance of Internal Security Act, the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, and the National Security Acts. But these are all there just for our national security. Okay, don't get me wrong, I am all for fundamental rights, but when the nation is in danger, the nation comes first, and these acts are just there to make sure that the nation is protected. Only when the nation is protected can rights be equally administered to all people. Okay, don't get me wrong, I am not against fundamental rights, it's just that depends on the situation. Okay, so that is how the rights have been analyzed. One more thing is the freedom of the press has not been included in the right to freedom. So in democracy we did talk about fair and unbiased press, but it is not directly included in the constitution, but it does come under the freedom of speech. But even the constitution doesn't say that it should come under the freedom of speech, we just assume it to be. Okay, so there are some loopholes here and there, but it is the best one could have come up during those times. Coming up with all this is a monumental task. The very fact that we do have such provisions makes us think, they did do a good work. So we again must be thankful that there is the rights so that we can live as citizens of a very, very prestigious country. I believe that we should all be very proud of that, and we must also be very much duty bound to protect our country in times of need. Okay, so with that I would like to conclude this part. If you have any more discussions, please do discuss them in the comment. So I would like to conclude this part here with my motto: never stop learning, never stop exploring. And please do share this video, let more people be aware of it, and let more people indulge in discussions on this. So once again, discussions lead to a lot of knowledge too. We know what one person's viewpoint is just by discussing with them. So hopefully you guys will share this video as much, discuss this among yourselves. You yourselves will take up and start reading up all this. So with that, I would like to conclude. Thank you.